What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we are going to continue our coverage over Secret Invasion, but we are going to continue our coverage over the 2008 series, not the newest one that Marvel had released to go alongside with the Disney Plus show. But with that being said, when it came to the 2008 version, this was more of a big, huge Marvel event to pull in all the different titles to tell this big, huge story. Because what was going on is that you had this alien race known as the Skrulls that were going around kidnapping people, then replacing those people with themselves, and then they would pretend to be the people that they had kidnapped and replaced by using their shapeshift ability. And so with that, you had a secret invasion. Now, when it came to the human race, no one actually knew this was happening, hence the name Secret Invasion. And so if you were just a regular person, you had no idea if your husband, wife, daughter, son, dog maybe, was them or actually a Skrull. You had no idea. Now, two different teams actually found out, the Illuminati and the New Avengers. Now, when it came to the New Avengers, they were technically the first, I want to say, because they found a dead Elektra Skrull, and that told them, oh my God, the Skrulls have done some kind of secret invasion. And when it came to the Illuminati, they found out that Black Bolt was also replaced by a Skrull. And so that was two huge big moments in Marvel Comics. But over our coverage, we have learned so many different things about what the Skrulls did to try to make sure that this invasion actually pulls off. Because the reason why the Skrulls are doing this is because for two reasons. One, a prophecy told them many years ago that the earth would belong to them. And the second reason is because the Illuminati actually went to their home world, made a threat, and the Skrulls did not like that. And so that is why you have the Skrulls right now doing this secret invasion. But like I said earlier, we have learned so many different things about the Skrulls and what they did to make sure that this invasion actually pulled off. Like, for example, they made sure they had someone on the inside in every single group. Fantastic Four, the Avengers, possibly the X-Men, and the list goes on and on. S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. But then there's one question. What about the criminals, though? What about the bad guys? We know the heroes have been replaced. We know that close friends of the heroes have been replaced. But what about the bad guys? And that is where New Avengers number 46 actually jump in. Because when it comes to New Avengers number 46, it does pick up with the Hood. Now remember, the Hood was this character that Brian Michael Bendis really loved. But he also was trying to make this character the new kingpin of crime in New York. As a matter of fact, if you saw our earlier coverage of Secret Invasion, we slowly watched the Hood become the new kingpin of crime in New York. And what he did was he went around and kind of recruited a bunch of characters, kind of like C-list characters, who are bad guys for different heroes across Marvel Comics, to say, hey, if we work together, we can be a powerful force. We can run New York. I can be the new kingpin of crime. Now, the reason why we actually pick up with them right now, because like I said earlier, what about the criminals? Did the Skrulls actually replace the criminals on Earth as well? And so we pick up with the Hood right now and his gang of bad guys interrogating a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. And the question is though, why? Why are they questioning this S.H.I.E.L.D. agent? And so we do jump back one day prior from that moment right there, where we actually do pick up with Madame Mask being escorted by a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to a room to be interrogated. Now, when it comes to Madame Mask, I know she was kind of big in the 80s and somewhat in the 90s, but by this point in Marvel Comics, she wasn't really a big time character. And matter of fact, she actually is the girlfriend of the Hood. And that right there is going to be somewhat important for this storyline. And the reason why I say that, because while you have Madame Mask right now being escorted to a different room by a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, of course, that is the moment you do have her kind of not answering their questions, and they want to get really rough with her. And so when they try to actually do that, well, that is the moment you have the Hood pop in. Now, again, when it comes to the Hood, he does have a very powerful magical hood, which gives him the ability to kind of teleport and do other magical things. And so he's right now just teleporting all over the place, but also coming in gun blazing, killing off all of these S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Now, while he is doing that, Madame Mask is calling out to him to stop. Now, at first, you're kind of wondering, why would she do that? Why would she ask her boyfriend to stop killing off these S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, which then could help her get free? Well, we come to find out the reason why, because all of these S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were not actual S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. They were Skrulls. And so that tells the Hood and also Madame Mask something is going on. The Skrulls have done a secret invasion. What is happening right now? And so getting back to the other moment where you have the Hood surrounded by a group of his bad guys and they're all interrogating the one S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, they begin to question him to hopefully learn more about what is happening right now with the world. Now, of course, they come to find out that this S.H.I.E.L.D. agent is also a Skrull as well. But with him being a Skrull, that means they're able to get some kind of information out of him. And so you do have the Hood actually sit down with this guy and begin to question him. Now, this Skrull does tell the Hood and all the bad guys with the Hood everything they need to know. Like, hey, listen, we are doing a secret invasion. But our goal at first was to make sure we have someone on the inside in every single group. Fantastic Four, X-Men, the Avengers, and the list goes on and on. But then you had a Skrull actually tell the Hood something very important. Well, for the Hood, it's actually very important. And what I mean by that is, like I said earlier, the Skrulls wanted to make sure they had someone on the inside in every single group that could possibly play a factor in the Skrulls actually losing their invasion. And so that came down to the Hood. And what they're telling the Hood and his group of bad guys right now, they actually think that the Hood and his forces could play an actual role in stopping the invasion, a very powerful force that could end everything for them. And so what they were trying to do was get somebody in the inside of the Hood organization. And that person who was supposed to be kidnapped, replaced, is Madame Mask. She was supposed to be kidnapped and replaced when she was earlier being escorted by those S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. And so this is huge because now it's the Hood and his group of bad guys finding out that there is some kind of invasion and they're going around kidnapping people and pretending to be those people. But then that brings in a very important question. And that question right now is, if someone else in the group has been replaced by a Skrull. Because if Madame Mask was originally supposed to be kidnapped and replaced by a Skrull and they fail, does that mean someone else has been kidnapped and replaced by a Skrull? And then if that's true, then who? And so now it's kind of like, who can we trust? Now, this actually does lead into a problem I had with this storyline. And the reason why, because Brian Michael Bendis told us earlier that when it came to the Skrulls, they found a way to make sure that magic, technology, and whatever else humans can use to kind of detect if someone is a Skrull or not would not work. magic included on that list. And so when it comes to the Hood, and when he does use magic to kind of figure out if everybody else here is human or a Skrull, and he was able to actually find out that someone was a Skrull, that kind of defeats what you said earlier in the storyline, that magic couldn't work. But here's the Hood right now using magic to figure out if anybody in the crowd of bad guys is actually a Skrull, which he does find someone, and he does kill that person very quickly. Anyways, you do have the Hood tell his people, like, hey, right now, go home, stay hidden, wait for my call. I am going to try to figure out what is going to be our next steps. But unfortunately, right now, I have no idea. And so he does leave. And we actually do see him go home to his house. Now, when he does go home to his house, this is really more of the Hood finally asking the person who had gave him the Hood for help, because right now he feels like he needs to unlock the other abilities the Hood could actually do for him to make him even more powerful, to get him ready for this supposed invasion. And so that is the moment we come to find out that the Hood had actually came from Dormammu. And I really hope I pronounced that correctly. I feel like I always mispronounce that guy's name for sure. But either way, Dormammu, this very powerful other dimension being, was the one who gave the Hood the magical Hood to use. And so now it's him begging Dormammu to unlock all the different abilities the Hood could possibly do for him to make him better, to get him ready for a secret invasion, or possibly do something else even bigger outside the Earth. Now, when it comes to New Avengers number 47, it really does focus on two characters that Brian Michael Bendis really cares for. If you're new to Marvel Comics and you don't know much about Brian Michael Bendis, let me explain. So when it comes to New Avengers number 47, it does pick up in the past, way before the actual invasion had begun. But we pick up with Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. Now, Jessica Jones is actually Brian Michael Bendis' creation, but he also has love for Luke Cage. Now, by this point in Marvel Comics, Bendis had Luke Cage and Jones get married and have a kid with one another. And so right now in the opening pages of New Avengers number 47, we actually see him right now kind of wondering what to do with a baby. Like, this man is actually scared to fail as a father. He's scared to drop the baby. He's scared to do almost anything with the baby. And so it's Jessica Jones kind of reassuring him that everything is going to be okay. And he's also going to be a great father. Now, with that being said, it's also him saying, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you the story of when I realized I loved your mom. And so it's kind of like a love story. But we are not going to cover that love story. And the reason why, because one, it has literally nothing to do with Secret Invasion, and two, we don't have the time for it. Now, I do say it is a great story. I really do love it. Like, it's great. But unfortunately, we don't have enough time to actually cover it. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what happens in this story of how Luke Cage realized he fell in love with Jessica Jones. And what happened was that Luke Cage had actually hired Jessica Jones to figure out where his father was at, because he wanted to talk to his father, and he hasn't seen his father in a very long time. They're at bad terms. And so Jessica Jones was actually able to locate his father. Now, when she goes to the house where her father actually lives in, well, she is confronted by Luke Cage's stepmother, technically. Like, he got remarried to some woman, and this is Luke Cage's stepmother. Now, when Jessica Jones tells the stepmother, hey, I'm here to talk to, I forgot Luke Cage's dad's name is, but she says, hey, I'm here to talk to him about his son. Now, when she says that, the lady freaks out because she was already told about what's been going on between Luke Cage and his father. And so she tells Jessica Jones, no. You may not talk to him at all. Now, while the two ladies are actually talking, you do have Luke Cage walk up and try to talk to his father, but unfortunately, his father does not want to talk to him. And so you have his new stepmother close the door in their faces and they have to leave. And so that was a hard moment for Luke Cage. And because it was a hard moment, he needed someone there for him. And Jessica was actually there for him to comfort him. And that was the moment he realized that he actually loves the woman. But then we actually jump to the present day. Now, when we do, we actually pick up with Jessica Jones freaking out. Now, the reason why she does freak out because she realized something had happened when it came to her baby. Because remember, she left her baby with Jarvis. But we have to remember, Jarvis is actually a Skrull. And so she realized what's been going on, that she left her baby with a Skrull. And so when Luke Cage and Jessica Jones go back to Avengers Tower looking for their child, unfortunately, their child has been taken away. And so we're left to believe that their child was taken away by the Skrulls. And this is huge for Luke Cage and Jessica Jones because now their child has been taken away. It's one of the hardest moments for a mother and father to actually go through. But that was New Avengers number 47. And so then we jump over to the main storyline once again, where we actually pick up with Secret Invasion number 4. Now, with that being said, we actually do pick up with Mr. Fantastic. Now, the first few pages of this book right here is kind of like a reminder of what has happened so far when it came to Secret Invasion. So the first page reminds us, hey, don't forget, Mr. Fantastic was taken away by the Skrulls. He has been removed. And that is a huge blow to the human race because he is the smartest person on the planet. Now, the next thing we do get reminded about is Sword, Abigail Brand. Because remember, Sword was to warn the Earth if anything big was on its way coming from other parts of the universe. And so they were taken out by the Skrulls. And so now Sword Space Station is gone and Abigail Brand and her crew are just floating in space, stuck there until someone is able to come save them. Then we also get reminded that the Sentry was also removed as well because they made the Sentry believe that he is completely evil, that the Void will come out. And if the Void does come out, that's the end for the entire universe. And so the first few pages were kind of used as a way to remind us what happened to some of the big hitters when it came to this invasion. But then we pick up with Miss Marvel. Now remember, this is Carol Danvers, not Kamala Khan. Kamala Khan wasn't made yet in Marvel Comics. Either way, right now, you have her flying back to New York. And the reason why, because Iron Man asked her to kind of check up on New York to see how bad New York was when it came to this invasion, which honestly, you should already know is pretty bad, which we already know it is pretty bad. But when she gets back there, she's like, oh yeah, it's pretty bad. Now, when she arrives, she is confronted by Nick Fury and his secret warriors. Now, this is a huge moment for her because she is surprised to see Nick Fury. And the reason why, because remember, after Secret War, Nick Fury had to go underground because he broke a lot of different laws. And so if he was actually caught, he would have been locked away for a very long time. But because he got away and went underground, no one has seen him since Secret War until this moment right here. And so she is surprised to see him and his new team called the Secret Warriors. But unfortunately, when they're able to handle all the Skrulls in this area, he does shoot at her as well, because this is Nick Fury believing that she is a Skrull. But we have no idea if this is Carol Danvers, a Skrull, or this Carol Danvers is the one we all know and love. But then we jump over to the Savage Land. Now, when we actually jump over to the Savage Land, we actually have to remember that in the Savage Land, you do have this big battle happening at the moment. Because remember, the heroes found a spaceship. When that spaceship opened up, a bunch of other heroes popped out. But the question is, though, are those heroes actual heroes that have been lost over the years? Or those heroes are really Skrulls pretending to be the heroes? Either way, in our last main storyline video, we found out that Spider-Woman was the queen of the Skrulls, meaning that the Spider-Woman that we have been following since New Avengers #1 and forward was never actually Jessica Drew. It was actually the queen of the Skrulls pretending to be Jessica Drew. Now, in our last video, we saw her try to trick Tony Stark by saying, "Hey, Iron Man, you're not human. You're not Iron Man. You are actually a Skrull, a deep undercover Skrull." We had to kind of play with your mind to make you actually believe that you are Tony Stark. But in reality, you're a Skrull, and you have been helping us this entire time. Now, we as the readers know by this point, that's false. But at this moment in time, no one knew if that was actually true, if Iron Man was actually a Skrull or not. But you do have Black Widow jump in the room to take out this fake Jessica Drew, the queen of the Skrulls, but she does get away. And when she does get away, it's now Black Widow trying to help out Iron Man. Now, Iron Man has begun the process of actually believing what the queen had told him, that he is a Skrull, that he was sitting here to help them out to win this invasion. But you have Black Widow say, "Tony, stop, shut up. You are not a Skrull at all. You are human, and you are going to figure out how to save the day." Now, Wolverine does appear, but the way to tell if that's Wolverine or not is shoot him. If he heals up, that's cool. And so she does, he heals up, and they know that is actually Wolverine. Either way, it's now time for Iron Man to kind of regather himself and figure out how to save the day. But getting back over to Abigail Brand and her crew of sword agents, right now, they're just floating in space. And they're protected by the space environment thanks to their tech. But you didn't have Abigail Brand being able to kind of float over to a Skrull spaceship. And when she does, she's actually able to sneak onto the spaceship. Now, at first, you're kind of wondering, okay, maybe Abigail Brand is going to begin the process of where the heroes are able to kind of turn this entire thing around. Because, guys, we're only technically halfway through Secret Invasion. This is only the 4th issue of the main storyline. But either way, once Abigail Brand is able to kind of reach the main control room of this spaceship that she has snuck onto, she is confronted by some Skrulls. And it's kind of like, great, you literally got on a spaceship and about 5 minutes in, you got captured. Well, there goes Abigail Brand. But then we actually pick up with Maria Hill. Now remember, in our last main story video, we saw that Maria Hill's helicarrier crashed into the water. But when she walked outside with her group of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to kind of fix up the helicarrier and get it back in the air, she was confronted by Jarvis. But we have to remember, this is not the Jarvis we all know and love. This is a Skrull that is pretending to be Jarvis. And so this fake Jarvis is telling Maria Hill, hey, listen, Maria, if you want to live and survive, go ahead and surrender. But if you don't surrender, I'm going to kill you off and we're still going to win. So let me help you decide what is the best choice you should do right now. Because right now, you and your crew are not in the best position to try to fight against us or try to make some kind of deal. But then we actually pick up with the Hood. Now, this is only for a very brief moment. But what happened is that you have the Hood tell his crew right now it's time for them to go. Honestly, he tells them that the Earth is bad business and kind of hints that maybe him and his crew are going to leave the Earth. Honestly, who knows? But either way, you have the Hood say it's time for us to leave. Like right now, the Earth is bad business. But to wrap up today's video, we actually do pick up in the central part of New York, where you do have a bunch of innocent people right now just trying to get away. They're trying to get away from the Skrulls who are trying to kill them. But while they're trying to get away, the Skrulls are killed off by lightning. Now that tells us right off the bat, it has to be someone with lightning control abilities. But the question is though, who? Well, the last page gives us a hint. It's Thor, or possibly someone else pretending to be Thor and trying to kill off the Skrulls. But at the same time, we do see that someone else is also trying to pretend to be Captain America. Because we have to remember, by this point in Marvel Comics, Steve Rogers was dead. And so it's kind of like, are we getting a new Thor and a new Captain America? Who knows? Either way, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please, leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.